I was sent to a wilderness program for troubled teens at 15 years old, and then to a therapeutic boarding school for a year, and then kicked out at 18 years old and had nowhere to go. So I went and lived with literal drug dealers who were like 20 years older than me. I was not supposed to be successful. Online memberships quite literally changed my life. And I'm going to break it down here in a little story time episode where I'm peeling back the curtain a little bit on just my journey and what it took to hit a really huge goal of mine, which I'm also going to share with you inside of this episode. Welcome to the $1 Million Memberships Podcast, where we help entrepreneurs like yourself start, grow, and scale multiple 6- and 7-figure online memberships with simple, step-by-step strategies that actually work.
Your life is about to get so good.
Let's dive in. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of $1 Million Memberships Podcast. In this episode, we're veering into a little story time. It's been a little bit, so I thought this was the perfect time. Plus, I have recently hit one of the most massive goals of mine that I honestly thought was going to be something that would be much further down the road, especially with the last 4 years that I just had. I thought that this was really now going to be pushed back. So if you're a membership founder, which I'm assuming you are if you're listening to this podcast, and maybe you've had feelings of feeling like maybe your membership just isn't cut out for the membership space, or maybe your audience isn't an audience that does well with memberships, or maybe you've just been struggling with your membership and maybe you thought you'd be further along by now than you actually are, I think this is going to be a really good episode to hear. And also because I'm going to be breaking down a lot of the stuff that just isn't talked about and things that like people don't necessarily want to share that were a real part of my journey, and even parts of it where I felt like I really should have been further ahead than I was, and just kind of pulling back the curtain a little bit with a more human and friend to friend kind of episode. And then, like I said in the intro, sharing something that I've really been working to for a long time that finally has come into my life, and just really not only what it took to get there, but what it's taking to get there and grow from here. So let me set the stage for you. In my teenage years, I spent a lot of my early adult life honestly being a little bit of a delinquent. I was partying a lot. I was living with people I had no business living with. At one point, I was even living in an apartment that was in such a bad area of the city that I had to carry bear spray to and from my apartment, literally step over people to get into my apartment building, and literally be riding the elevator up like with my hand on the bear spray in case I needed to use it. That was the kind of apartment I was in. I remember one time I was so broke that I went to the grocery store and I only had a little bit of money. So I would go down the aisle and I would put things in my cart, and then every so often I'd just put something in my really big bag. So I was still grocery shopping, but I had like a loaf of bread and a block of cheese in my purse, and then only paid for like $20 of the other stuff that I had because I was so broke. I had to quite literally get scrappy. I could not afford my groceries after I paid for my rent at that point in my life. I was living in fear and survival for most of my teenage years, and quite honestly for most of my 20s. But here is something that I have really learned about people, just meeting different people in the entrepreneurial space, meeting different people in memberships and all of the things, my clients, all of these people that I've met along the way. One thing that I've really realized is people who have hard pasts, who maybe have been in survival mode or had to get really scrappy as a young person or get really resilient growing up in their 20s. Something I've learned about our type of people is that we make the best entrepreneurs. Building a business is hard, but people who have these types of pasts are used to hard. We really don't back away from it. So even if this is you listening and maybe you are in something where someday you hope it's going to be your story, maybe you're in a really hard time in life, maybe you've had to get scrappy, be resilient, just know having this resilience inside of you makes you the best entrepreneur. If you can really channel that into your business and get scrappy, that is the best type. That is what is going to actually get you through entrepreneurship. So in my mid-20s, I started to feel like I kind of needed to get out of this scene. I needed to get out of how I was living. I needed to get my life in order. Long story short, I got into fitness. I dove headfirst into the fitness world. I was in my corporate HR job, literally being on the bodybuilding.com website. It was getting to the point where people in my office were asking me for support with their health and their fitness. They saw what I was doing, that they saw how I was transforming like physically. They saw I wasn't going out as much and I was making these different decisions, and people just naturally started coming to me asking me for support. And so Long story short with this again, I got into online fitness. I went and I got all my certifications, I took all my tests, I took courses, and I studied to become a certified personal trainer. And instead of going into the gym, I had actually gone headfirst into the online route because I myself had worked with a personal trainer when I dove really deep into fitness, and I did that online. So at the time, this was around like 2014, 2016, in that area, this was not a super common thing like it is right now. So I started dabbling in the online fitness coaching space really early. When I officially started my business, it was like late 2017, early 2018. I started with one-on-one coaching like most people do, and it ended up working. But then it started to kind of suffocate me. After some time doing this and growing and establishing my business, I started to get so burnt out and busy with clients that I had no time for anything else. Like I was always eating at my laptop. I was skipping my own workouts, even though I was fitness coaching. It was like I was starting to feel like I was more unhealthy being a fitness coach because I was so busy trying to coach all of these other people and using all of my free time that I was like starting to slip myself. I had no space to even think about growing my business or like really put good things into place because I was either messaging clients or trying to find new clients. When I would have all these clients, I'd be so busy doing their plans and their check-ins and updating things and getting on Zoom calls with them and replying to their messages every day. By the time their contracts ended, all of a sudden my income would drop because it was like these waves. I would get all of these clients at once and then I would work with them, have no time for any of my marketing or content. I was always falling off of being consistent with content because I was so busy. When their contracts ended, I had no new leads in my pipeline because I didn't have the time to market. So then I would spend 3 months in this like survival mode. I didn't have payments coming in and I was like hustling and so stressed. And then I would get the clients and then it would just repeat. It was like going in this up and down feast or famine wave. I was literally like resetting in business all the time and then feeling like, is this a business? Like I was calling this a business, but this doesn't feel like a business. This is just like, I don't know what this is, but it's not working. There's no systems behind it. There's no architecture behind it. I remember sitting there one day thinking about my future, like thinking, could I honestly keep this up? Like, do I want to be doing this in 5 years? I can't imagine myself constantly looking for people to work with and constantly like burning myself to the ground. I can't imagine doing this for 5 years in a row. And then there was the piece about my clients as well, where it was just like, I feel like there's a better way to do this. I'm getting the same questions all the time. We're spending so much time on our calls, like answering these same questions. They are still alone in their fitness journey because it's just me on Zoom, but they don't have like these new connections of other people who are in the same boat as them and all the things. Like there was just all of these different factors. So I remember sitting down one day and journaling. And this is one of those, like I've had like 3 of these feelings in my life where it's just like this huge download comes where it's like, where did that thought even come from? I've never heard of this before, but all of a sudden it feels so right. I know this is what I'm supposed to do. And like the thoughts just kept coming. That's like a true download for me. And I've had those probably 3 times in my life. And this is one of those times. And that is when I decided to build my membership right from that big download. And this was my first membership. So this was my online health and fitness membership. This was something that really didn't require me to be one-on-one with everybody. People were now meeting other people in community. There was actually resources and things to teach them. So they weren't just relying on questions they had for me or trying to remember things from our calls. They had material and they had the support of the group on calls and in the community and all of the things. And this really kicked off my membership journey. And it's so funny because at the time that I created this, I didn't know it was a membership. I didn't call it a membership because it was a mid-ticket membership. So it wasn't like a $27 membership that I was used to thinking of when I thought of memberships. And this is quite literally the pivot point of my entire business career. In 2019, I really naturally transitioned from the health coaching space into business, and it was something that I hadn't actually planned. I honestly, when I came into this, I thought of myself as being a health and fitness coach forever. Like to this day, I'm still obsessed with wellness and all of the things in that world. And so it truly is such a big passion of mine. And so I never thought that I was going to pivot until it just really happened naturally, where people were coming to me and asking me how, like people who had started at the same time as me, and then all of a sudden were coming to me and asking me to coach them because they saw me get all this growth in such a short amount of time, which to me it didn't feel short, but in the grand scheme of things I think it was. And it was kind of the same thing that happened with the fitness coaching, where I just had enough people reach out and ask me about these things, and then I was starting to find that these conversations were lighting me up more than like the health conversations that I had been having. I still love health. It's still something that I'm passionate about. It wasn't lighting me up in the way that, like, when I talked about business and my strategies and what I was doing to scale and how I was doing a membership model instead of like with a one-on-one model that everyone else was doing, and how I was making that my primary, and what I was doing to fill it, what I was doing to actually sell it that other people weren't doing. And all of these things, I remember going to my coach at the time and telling her, and she's like, I think this is your next step. It's very clear that this is your next step. And so it was just one of those things that I naturally got into. I kind of like juggled the both for a little bit until I did my full transition to business. And long story short, I started out with one membership in business and ended up with two. I'm not going to go into the whole thing because that's like years and years of storytelling, which isn't important for this episode. But basically what I ended up doing was I really branded myself as the business coach that helps fitness coaches and health professionals scale their business without just banking on one-on-ones and scaling with a group model, so memberships. However, my actual niche, like how I branded myself, was not all of those things. It was just helping health and fitness professionals scale their business. So this worked. And long story short, I ended up having two memberships. I had one that was for beginner fitness coaches just starting their business. And then I had one that was more advanced, like people trying to hit six figures and beyond. So again, my bread and butter was literally helping these people, especially like in my higher ticket, really helping these clients stop being so burnt out and overworked with these one-on-one spots and build these incredible community programs and community models. That was how I helped people scale. But the problem was because that wasn't like what I was branding myself as. I wasn't branding myself at that time as someone who can help you scale through online communities and memberships. I was branding myself as the business coach for health and fitness coaches. And so 80% of my clients would come in and we would do this model and they loved it. And it was something they ended up being the most passionate about. But then I would also get those 20% of people who wanted nothing to do with that and just wanted to sell things like courses or whatever else they wanted to do. And looking back, the problem was I was just branding myself wrong. I was branding myself on a person and like a demographic, which is what I was always taught to niche around, right? I was putting myself in a box in terms of like the demographic, when in reality, what I wanted to be niched in and wanted to do was the actual result itself, which is the membership model. So I didn't need to just be keeping myself in this health and fitness box, but that's what I had done. And it was working, and I could start feeling myself around like end of 2021, 2022, not feeling passionate about creating for it. Like, it wasn't that I didn't love it, and I always loved like getting on calls with my clients because so much of the time I was talking about the membership side of things. But to create content and like talk about what I did, it was just such this broad thing that I was just not really able to like get super lit up about it because it's just such a broad topic. And it ended up being that very cliche, if you try and talk to everyone, you end up talking to no one. Looking back, I was working so much harder than I am right now. So it was successful, but it wasn't something I was completely lit up about anymore. Fast forward to 2022. This is where I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter, Gray. I was living in a different country. I was in a relationship that was not very good. We were actually breaking up that week that I had found out that I was pregnant with my daughter. It was the year that everything kind of blew up. I was so thankful that I had these memberships at this time because I ended up having to move countries. I was pregnant, single, trying to find a place to live again, living somewhere that was far away from my family and my closest friends, and then also running my business. And I was so grateful that I had these memberships going because I was able to actually take that full year, like take from when I found out I was pregnant, all of the traveling back, trying to do everything alone, finding where I'm going to live, like all of those things until the point of actually having my daughter in October of 2022, and then taking months off for my postpartum healing time, which we'll get into that in a second, was insane. But the best thing was that year, my income didn't drop. And it was because I had this membership. It literally was the cushion that helped me do all of this stuff alone. And I quite literally, I cannot imagine if I had not had that membership and I was really banking on one-on-one calls and one-on-one contracts and high touch programs. I cannot imagine how that year would have been. It quite literally saved my life. I know that sounds really dramatic, but like that's how I feel about it. When I actually had my daughter and that first year of me trying to take care of this new baby, run my business, I was also going through court at that time with my daughter's dad, and I had legal bills out the butt. It was so stressful. I'm telling you, I couldn't even look at my email. Like I would literally hold my breath while opening the Gmail app, because I was just so scared of what was going to be in my inbox from lawyers or bills or fees or like whatever it was. It was just, it was awful. Also during this time, because I had already been feeling that pull of like, what am I marketing? Like, what am I talking about? What am I creating content about? When I had my daughter, that hit me like a freaking ton of bricks. Like it was so hard to create. And especially like I just had this feeling that I wasn't doing the right thing. I wasn't building my business in the right direction. And then just like the first time that this happened with my download that I had for my first membership, I had another download in that first year of being postpartum. I had this aha moment again. And basically it was just this huge realization that why the fuck was I still marketing myself as this business coach for health and fitness coaches and wellness coaches, but also like other people can fit into this because the things that I teach apply to everyone, but I'm still marketing myself as health and fitness. Like I wasn't going deep where I needed to go deep. And I had this moment where I just knew from this point on, I needed to trim the fat. I needed to cut the shit. And I needed to go all in with just the thing that I actually had been doing for most of my career and the thing that I was actually helping my clients with, but I was never just publicly saying, which looking back is absolutely crazy, but it just never clicked. I was so like stuck in this mindset that you needed to market to a demographic. And it was just whatever. Let's not get into that. That doesn't matter for this episode. But I just knew that if I wanted to build this life, I had this like new fire lit in me. I think moms, you will know exactly what I'm saying right now. Like after my daughter was born, I just had this like fire inside of me that I didn't care what anyone else thought. I didn't care what this looked like online. If I wanted to build the life that I wanted to build for myself and my daughter now, I needed to steer the ship in the right direction. And going even further than that, I needed to just burn the damn boat. So this is where I quite literally, and I am one of those people that if I am not lit up about something, I have a really hard time doing it. That's like not the best trait to have. And I will recognize that as an entrepreneur because there's a lot of times you have to do things that you don't want to do. And I am working on it. I am actively trying to train myself to do that because there's always going to be these things. But like for this specific thing, where I was marketing and then like signing people, I couldn't do it. I just had to burn it, like cut it off right there, work with my like last people who I had been working with, kind of like finish out my contracts and all of the things. And I had to go all in with this one thing, which was memberships. That is all I wanted to do. That is all I wanted to help people do. It didn't matter what industry you're in. If you're building an online membership community, that is what I do. And when that realization hit me, holy shit, it felt so like duh. Like, oh my God, this feels so much better. It was just like this full body knowing. So at that time, I had walked away from memberships that had brought me 7 figures, that had given me this life that I had up until then, that allowed me to live in a different country, that allowed me to buy my dream car, that allowed me to live in my dream apartment, that allowed me to do fun things like bring my dad on vacation and like all of these things. It allowed me a certain life. And then when I had my daughter, to be like, you need to burn that down now, seemed incredibly stupid. But also at the same time, I felt like there was no other way for me to do it because I had to go all in with it. And so that's what I did. I literally changed my Instagram handle. It used to just be at Paige Vandy, and I changed it to the Membership Muse because I wanted to be known for that one thing. I went all in with just the one program that I wanted to be doing. I didn't want to have these different memberships for different levels. I wanted to make something that could be one membership that got people one result, which was taking their membership from wherever it is to being able to build $1 million 7-figure membership. I wanted to put all of my content on that thing, on memberships. I didn't want to be talking about people who are doing courses versus people who are doing masterminds versus people who are doing this and that. I wanted everything to be focused on memberships. I had one short form style that I went really hard on, which was Instagram. I went hard on one long form content platform, which is my podcast. I built one really good funnel. I just literally cut the fat on everything else. I stopped trying to do all of these different freebies and all of these different funnels and have all of these different platforms and talk about all of these different topics. And I just trimmed the fat and went so all in on one thing. And you guys, this wasn't long ago. This was 2024 that I made this decision, like early 2024. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to show you something because this is absolutely insane. This is a journal entry that I had from 2018. I used to do this thing where I would sit and write in my journal and I would just write out my dream day. Like I would try and get so clear of what that day actually looked like. And if you're just listening, it says I would wake up early, look out my window that overlooks all of the city lights and lake. I would get into my brand new Range Rover and get my AM workout in. I would come home and make a fresh veg/fruit juice. And I don't care if that sounds superficial. It's just what I wanted at that time. I was so broke at that time writing that. And I just like wanted to feel abundant. Every single morning too, I would do the same 10-minute morning visualization meditation that I listened to on YouTube. And every single morning I would sit in that meditation and I would visualize this house that was on the lake, that my dog would be there with me. And for some reason, every time I visualized this house, I would always see fireplaces like in the middle of the living room, like not just against a wall, but like sticking out in the middle of the living room that kind of like separates two rooms. You know what I mean? I don't know why. That was like never a house that like I don't think I saw that somewhere where I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. It was just whenever I visualized, I would always see it. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to show you because this is so crazy. So just a few weeks ago, it happened. I signed papers on my dream lake house and literally like it feels like this is the one that I was thinking about since 2018. It's right on the water and it has the fireplaces, which is so funny to me. But also when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this is really weird. And this is all starting to happen and these things coming into fruition and feeling abundant again. This is happening because I decided to go all in with one thing. I stopped trying to be that go-to coach for everything and just became the go-to for that one thing. I just focused so hard on truly being the muse for memberships, knowing everything, studying, being the best in the space, constantly pushing myself to learn more and to practice more and put myself in these situations where I'm learning to be the best in this space. I was so scared of putting myself in a box for so many years, when in reality, that was the thing that was holding me back. I was just so scared to have people not choose me because I couldn't cater to what they wanted, when in reality, there's so many people who are actually just wanting this one specific thing. And when I became known for that one specific thing and made sure I was the best person to come to for that specific thing, that's when things started really taking off and changing. Most people, I feel like, give up on the membership thing way too early. Either because they're just too broad and their membership is not growing. The membership's not just like an obvious choice for somebody because it is so broad, or they just don't make a ton of money from it right away because memberships can be a really slow build. And most people are unwilling to sit in this uncomfortableness and are tempted to just make money sooner by doing something like one-on-one or just building something that's really high ticket and people have to pay higher ticket for. That's really tempting to do. And not to say you can't do that, because also I take consulting clients, I take private clients, but the difference is going and giving up on your membership in order to just do that because you think your membership isn't working. It is so fine to also take consulting or private clients if, one, you just love doing it, which I personally do. I love connecting with people and like really diving deep on a call. Or two, really using it to fund your life while you're growing your membership, which I also did when I was starting this membership. So it's not that those things are wrong to do and that you just like should go the membership route and not take higher ticket people. What I'm saying is the issue is people will just think that the membership isn't working. So then they'll put all their eggs into the one-on-one basket or like creating this higher touch program basket. When in reality, memberships, it just takes time and then it starts to compound and then it ends up being the one that's the most profitable. And for me, it was hard, especially coming from building this life that was providing really well for me and that was paying me really well. And then having my daughter Gray, and like, that's supposed to be that time where it's like, you want to be comfy. Like you're already so uncomfortable with this newborn, especially if you're a single mom too. You're already like so uncomfortable with this new life. Like you don't want to also be worrying financially or like being in an uncomfortable situation. We lived in a house for the last like 3.5, 4 years that I didn't really love. I lived in this house that was like, I did not like it. And I am an energy person through and through, like energy environment person through and through. I find it so hard to be creative and work when I'm in a space that I don't like. And if I didn't have my daughter, I probably would have moved to like at least an apartment or something that made me feel a little bit better. But I really had a plan for myself. I wanted to really lock in, really hustle in that house, build my business back up, build my safety nets back up. And I'm just telling you, there's so many times where I just wanted to move or like jump past the plan, create something that was high ticket so that I could just make money faster. Like there was a lot of days where it was hard, but I had to trust the process because I knew that doing what I was doing, this is the thing that actually builds the life that I want. I share all of this because you might be at a place right now listening where you're doubting your membership, or maybe you're doubting if your membership is the thing that is going to get you the life that you want, the money, the time back, the dream house, whatever it is for you. You can be at your absolute lowest and still build whatever the hell you want out of this life. You do not need to burn yourself to the ground with high ticket or one-on-one clients to build a 7-figure business. And that membership that you are building right now, even if it's that one that feels inconsistent, even if it's one where you aren't getting the number of members that you want in, even if it's the one that you are doubting, that membership can become the thing that changes everything for you if you just give it the time. If you focus so hard in on that one thing that people would come to your membership for, rather than looking and shopping between all of these other memberships, making your content be that one thing, putting the right systems in place to your membership so that it actually can grow and it can scale. Like honestly, being somebody who's done it both ways, where I've done the really general broad thing, like you can't put me in a box, and then focusing in on that one thing, really cutting the fat, building one really solid funnel, building one really solid channel that you are visible on, going really deep with these things instead of just surface level on everything that you do, that will change everything for you. And putting that focus into your membership can truly be the ticket to that life that you are wanting to live. Anyways, if you're somebody who is wanting to grow their membership this year or wanting to scale, or maybe you are somebody where you're feeling like you're bumping into these hurdles and your membership isn't moving how you would like it to move and you're questioning it, or maybe you have a membership and you've had a lot of success with it and now you're just wanting to scale it and you don't know what's the next best step so that you're not spinning your wheels trying all of these things, that is exactly what $1 Million Memberships Club does. And every single thing that I'm doing right now inside of my own personal business to grow my own membership, I teach inside $1 Million Memberships Club. And what's really cool about it is you really get that member point of view. So you can really see from a member's perspective how things feel in there, what we do, how we coach our members, how we guide our members, all of the things. So not only are you getting all of our frameworks and strategies and templates and challenges and all of the things, but then you're also just like experiencing it as a member, which I feel like there's no better way to grow a successful membership than to actually just experience it. It's like that hands-on field experience is the best way I know how to describe it. You get that benefit as well. And when you join $1 Million Memberships Club today, you get monthly live coaching calls, our loaded template vault of plug and play resources, access to our exclusive network of other membership founders who are ranging from brand new to 7 figures our membership growth challenges so that you can actually stay focused in on specific areas of your membership while you're growing. You're not getting distracted and you're making sure that you're getting all of the pieces. That's really what makes $1 Million Memberships Club so different, is you're not just given this huge course vault and then told, find what you need. We separate the different areas that you need to build inside of your membership. We separate those out for you in challenges so that you can just join a challenge, get that one area built, and then you can move on to the next. And so you feel really confident that even though we're a membership, even though it's not a one-on-one coaching container, a high-level container, you can still feel really confident that you're going to be led at a high level because of the way that we've structured $1 Million
and
Memberships
I didn't even realize it. So
you're
I'm
always
going
to know what to do. Always have a
YouTube, the
clear
screen is
step-by-step
absolutely
list
blank. I
of
am
what you
coming
need to
here
have
right
in
now to
place.
wrap
You're
up
never
this
left
episode.
guessing.
If you're wanting to join
that
$1 Million
is just
Memberships
hands
Club and you
down
go to the
one of
link
the
in the show
many
notes
reasons
and we
that
are
makes $1 Million
open, make
Memberships
sure you
Club
join
just
us right
so
away before our doors close. And if at the time you're listening to this, you click that link and we are on our wait list, make sure you get your name on the wait list, because then you are first to be notified when our doors are opening. That way you can get prepped and then you don't miss the notification for when our doors actually open and you don't miss your chance. That is it for this episode. I hope you were able to get something good out of this episode, and I will see you next week for another strategic memberships episode. I love you. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.